So this is going to be a quick video about the whole Ben Simmons. Uh, what word describes this situation with Ben Simmons? I think that's a perfect word. The situation. And these are going to be the 5 teams that I think would be perfect landing spots for Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers to trade him to. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is the San Antonio Spurs. I don't necessarily think that a move from the Spurs is going to happen, but in terms of a fit, I think Ben Simmons would be one of the most unique players that Greg Popovich has ever coached in his career with the Spurs. Obviously, outside of guys like Ginobili and Duncan and David Robinson and a few others, but I think Ben Simmons would be not only one of the most unique players, but one of the most just purely talented guys to ever put on a San Antonio Spurs uniform. And you put someone like Ben Simmons, who obviously has some sort of mental block when it comes to shooting. He obviously has some sort of just mental block when it comes to his offensive game, when it comes to scoring. You put him in a militant, you put him in a organized, and you put him in a very, at least in the last 20, 25 years, a very successful franchise. And I think that would be really good for Ben Simmons. He needs to go somewhere like San Antonio where the fans are going to appreciate him no matter what. The fans are going to be behind him, unlike the Philadelphia 76ers have been the past couple of years. And yeah, I just think it'd be a perfect move. Now, the next team I'm going to talk about is a team who I actually think has a less chance of getting him than the San Antonio Spurs, and that's the Miami Heat. Now, the Miami Heat would be a perfect addition because they kind of have a weird problem where they have a lot of their spots on the roster locked down. They have a wing in Jimmy Butler, who is probably going to be a main guy for them for the next few years. They've got a big man in Bam Adebayo, who is going to be there for a long time coming. They've got some young guys like Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero who are going to be solid players for this team if they're able to keep them. They've got, free agents like Duncan Robinson, who I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that he's not going to be staying with Miami. What they really don't have is somebody to fill that big man spot alongside Bam Adebayo, and they don't have another guy to handle the ball. And if they get someone like Ben Simmons, not only would they be filling one of those holes, they would be filling both of them, and they would be filling them both defensively really well. Ben Simmons is an all-defensive caliber player. He's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and he just fills roles for this Miami Heat team that he is needed to be filling. He could set screens for Jimmy Butler. He can set screens for anybody else. He can handle the ball. He can rebound. He can play make. He can literally do everything that this Miami Heat team needs to address in the offseason. Now, it's going to be hard for Miami to pull off a trade just because they don't have a lot of huge contracts that I think they're willing to give up. But if they do end up getting Ben Simmons, Miami will be back in the playoffs next year and will be a very good threat to win the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. Now, this next team that I'm going to talk about is probably the most unrealistic team to probably acquire Ben Simmons, but again, this is just what would be a perfect fit, in my opinion. And for the Golden State Warriors, if they are able to acquire Ben Simmons, you're talking about a team who also features 2 guys in Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, who in their own right are solid defensive players. I understand that, Steph is not the best point guard defender, and Klay Thompson is coming off 2 catastrophic leg injuries. But you're still talking about easily the 2 greatest shooters of all time between the 2 of them. And you're talking about 2 guys who can defend. Now you put someone like Ben Simmons in this rotation who also can defend, who also is a very good playmaker in transition like the rest of this team is. I think it's just a perfect fit. I think everything that Ben Simmons does well is what the Golden State Warriors want to do well. That's run in transition. That's, get open looks. That's play really good team defense. And that's rebound the ball well, play decent defense, and be a facilitating team. Now, yes, if you're a Golden State Warrior, you have to be able to shoot the ball. We see why someone like Draymond Green, it's why Draymond is one of the best players to step on the court for that Golden State Warriors team ever, because he can't shoot the ball, and he's still one of the best players on the team. Ben Simmons, I think, could fill that same role with Draymond Green, and people are thinking that, Ben Simmons can't play with Draymond Green. I think that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because we've seen Draymond Green make it work with guys like Andre Iguodala, I mean, the Golden State Warriors have made it work. At one point, this team featured guys like Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Leandro Barbosa, David West. Like, this team has featured a lot of guys that can't shoot the ball, and they still won 3 out of 4 championships. So I think, getting Ben Simmons would be a really good move for this team. They probably would have to give up either Wiggins or Wiseman or both of them, as well as somebody maybe like a bench player, maybe someone like Jordan Poole or something like that. But I think in the long run, that is a very good move for this franchise. So the next two teams I'm going to talk about, I think, are probably the two teams I think have the best chance of getting Ben Simmons. This next team is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think we understand for Cleveland why they should try to trade for someone like Ben Simmons. And not only is acquiring Ben Simmons a good thing, but you're also going to be getting rid of one of these two guards, either Darius Garland or Colin Sexton. I think we have a long enough record to say that it's not going to work. I understand that Cleveland has a really bad roster. I understand that Cleveland, I don't even know who their head coach was last year. I know it was, it was JB Bickerstaff. But I mean, they had the guy from Michigan, and that was just terrible. Like, that was probably the worst head coaching move we've seen, other than, what was that dude's name from Chicago? Jim Boylan. Like, Cleveland should never have hired the dude from Michigan. Jim Beeline, that was his name. But anyways, getting back to the roster, I think we have a long enough track record to say that Garland and Sexton can't work together. Two guys who need to have the ball in their hand. Two guys who need to be the guy running the offense. And while Ben Simmons is that guy as well, I think it could work to where if the Sixers got someone like Garland in return, Sexton has an easier chance of playing off the ball than Garland does. And, I mean, defensively, this team gets better with that move. Offensively, they get better with the move. And all around, they get better. They add someone like Ben Simmons, who has been a scrutinized player, who knows how to lead a franchise to the playoffs. And, yeah, I think it's just a perfect move. Now, the team that I think has the easiest chance of making this move, has probably the best chance of making this move, I think I've already talked about it before in a video, but it's the Portland Trailblazers. Easily trading, I mean, people think they're going to trade Dame Lillard. That's just not going to happen. But trading CJ McCollum, trading somebody like CJ alongside someone probably, I mean, just to make sure that Philly doesn't, just to make sure Philly takes the deal. Probably sweeten it up with a first-round pick. Probably sweeten it up with somebody like Zach Collins with a sign-and trade. That's kind of weird that we'd be talking about a sign-and trade for Zach Collins and Ben Simmons, but, I mean, that's kind of how it would have to work. And, like, for both teams, this really works because CJ McCollum can handle the ball for Philly. He can get the ball to Joel Embiid. He's always going to be a hard-working player. I should know. I've been a Portland Trailblazers fan literally for the whole career of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum that they've been together. And if I'm a Trailblazers fan, I'd hate to see CJ go, but at the same time, you get someone like Ben Simmons, and let's be honest, trading Ben Simmons, who has been an All-NBA, All-Defensive, All-Star, and been a guy who has been in the Eastern Conference Finals, a guy who he's already at the low point of his career right now, in my opinion, and he still is one of the best, I'd say, 25 to 30 players in the NBA. I don't think you could say the same about CJ McCollum. I think if you take CJ McCollum before Ben Simmons, you're kind of showing how stupid you are in terms of NBA knowledge. So, yeah, it's a perfect move for both teams. I think that's probably the most likely option that the Sixers have is to trade Ben Simmons to the Trailblazers, and for both teams, it ends up being a incredible move roster-wise. With all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. If you didn't, make sure you hit dislike. Any feedback at this point is much appreciated. If you're a fan of either the Sixers or any of the 5 teams that I said, make sure you let me know what you think about, your team trading for Ben Simmons, why you think it's dumb, why you think it's great, and I'll try to respond. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.